Let's bring in Joel Rubin from Washington, D.C. He served as Deputy Assistant Secretary of State under President Obama. He's now the president of the consulting firm Washington Strategy Group. Joel Rubin, good to have you with us. Many people said that this Pompeo speech would be the anti-Obama Cairo speech. Is that how you see it?
Well, it certainly was anti-Obama, and it was shamefully so. It was shamefully partisan. It was ahistoric, and it lacked a real vision, and essentially was just a checklist of one comments that was meandering and contradictory and very disappointing, frankly, for an American Secretary of State to go to a foreign capital and to attack his predecessor, an American president. It's not something that we should be doing, and it's certainly not something that a sitting Secretary of State should do if he really wants to represent the whole of the United States abroad.
Who do you think that he was speaking to? Which audience did he have in mind?
Well, prior to the speech, I was hoping he would have an audience of three: the American people, the Arab people, leaders in the region. But I really think it was just an audience of one. It was just President Trump. There were good sound bites there, occasionally one or two that were good quotable moments for a tweet. But really, it didn't seem like he was speaking to any of the most important audiences, the people directly affected by American policy in the Middle East. Really, if President Trump tuned in, he might have been happy. And I think that's who Secretary Pompeo was speaking to. So
what is the sort of takeaway message you would say that you got then from Pompeo's speech?
Well, at this stage, the core argument that Secretary Pompeo is making is that the United States is going to move mountains, essentially, to confront Iran and subvert all other priorities in that direction. So he was complimentary to Egypt. Despite the repression in Egypt, he never mentioned Jamal Khashoggi. He didn't say the word Palestine or speak about the Palestinians or offer solutions to the war in Yemen or the refugee crisis from Syria. He really did put all of the sort of regional issues into the frame of countering Iran. And that really makes American policy weak because we have a variety of interests in the region, not just one. We have to deal with Iran with eyes wide open, but that's the frame right now, and it is an incoherent one because, as we know, and as you've discussed earlier, the president's views on Syria are ones that one could argue help Iran rather than hurt Iran. So we don't really know where the administration wants to go specifically on these issues other than confront Iran as a broad purpose.
I was just chatting to our senior political analyst, Marwan Bashara, and he was giving us the reaction of what people in the Middle East would make of the speech and leaders in the Middle East. But let me ask you, what will the politicians over in the U.S. from across the political spectrum make of this?
Well, I think that the danger with this speech is that it only intensifies a partisanship on foreign policy and a real politicization of how America views itself in the Middle East. He did not have to attack President Obama's speech to make his points, but he did so. And the net result is that we have a foreign policy that maybe speaks to some type of partisan instinct, but it's not very sellable, and it's not something that members on Capitol Hill are going to easily be comfortable with. They're not going to have details coming from this that explain our specific actions in the region. So it's going to make it harder for Secretary Pompeo to bring Congress on board and to bring American politicians on board with this vision because it really didn't lay out how we're going to execute our foreign policy in the Middle East.
All right, Joel Rubin, we thank you for joining us on Al Jazeera. And we are following